I kept track of every single day in 2023 as a freelancer, and you should be doing the same. I got this idea from the Wandering DP podcast. He has an episode every single year. It's called the Yearly Review Podcast, where he breaks down all the numbers he hit for that year. I think it's really important to track your growth and progression as a freelancer. And like Patrick says in his podcast, this information isn't really online, so I wanted to contribute to that and share some of my numbers that I hit. Just as a business keeps track of how much money they made each year, I think it's just as important to do the same thing with time, especially as a freelancer, being your own boss and making your own hours. So to jump right in, I had a total number of 243 days of work. I'm gonna go more into depth with things like shoot days and stuff like that, but that's just the total number of spending time on set, spending time on the YouTube channel and TikTok, and spending time editing, stuff like that. In comparison to a regular 9 to 5, the total amount of work days is 249 if I were to do a regular 9 to 5 job. So I found my work days of 243 to be pretty good. I sort of try to treat this freelance business as a regular 9 to 5. If I don't really have a project going on that day, I always try to keep myself busy and be proactive. It's funny because hearing this number is pretty crazy to me because there's so many days where I'm so hard on myself and I'm saying to myself, you're not busy enough, you're not putting in enough effort, stuff like that. But to hear 249 days in a regular year for work days in Canada versus 243, I'm basically doing a 9 to 5 job. It was pretty reassuring to me, to be honest with you. And to clarify, the 243 of those work days, they weren't all paid. I'm still in the early stages of my career and sort of taking the necessary steps to where I want to go, uploading to YouTube and TikTok. I don't get paid to do those things, but that's all to help my brand and to get my name out there and stuff like that. As a freelancer, you're your own boss, so you kind of have to make stuff happen for yourself. I think the same should go for you as well. I think it's important to have a balance. For me personally, I try to do like a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 sort of thing and really have boundaries like that if I'm not working on set. Try to take the weekends off and, just have some personal time. But I think it's important to push yourself and have boundaries for yourself at the same time. Unfortunately, as a freelancer, not every single day is going to be a paid one. You're going to have to spend days where you're updating your website, going to meet people for coffee, or working on a project for yourself. But doing all those things is going to what leads you to making more money and hopefully landing more jobs. So all those are really important things to do. In the next few ones, I'm going to get a little bit more granular with it. Moving on to shoot days as a DP. A measly 13. Like I mentioned on this channel before, I primarily work in the lighting department, so I sort of expected this number to be low. It's sort of my first year really trying to make the jump happen from the lighting department to cinematography. So this is really the first year where I really went out there, tried to shoot my own projects and network with people. So I sort of expected this number to be low. I don't really have much freelance clients since I intentionally turned down a lot of videography gigs when I started to work in the lighting department, which I used to do a lot of before this. But I think as I make this transition happen and meet more directors, producers, and production companies, hopefully this transition will lead to more shoot days as a DP. This is such a relationship-based industry, and I feel like my name isn't really out there yet, so to speak. I think by creating a good body of work and meeting the right people, I'll hopefully be hireable at the caliber of work I want to be working at. Moving on to shoot days in the lighting department, 54. Right out of film school, I made the decision to work in the lighting department because I really wanted to learn from gaffers and DPs. I didn't know anything about lighting before, and now 4 years into this, I feel super confident with my lighting decisions as a DP. And I was told when I was just starting out that the best DPs come out through the lighting department, so I really wanted to learn all about that sort of stuff, which I'm super grateful to be working as a lighting tech for all of these years. This has really been my main source of income. And this is my first year where I really tried to make the transition happen from spark to cinematographer. I'm fortunate enough to work with gaffers and DPs and learn under them along with making an income. And there's been so many times where I'm working on set in the lighting department and I'll see something that we use or see a trick and I'll go out and apply it to my own sets, which I think that is just invaluable because there isn't a lot of information about that sort of stuff on the internet. Sort of the downside of this is I can see easily how you can get pigeonholed on set and only get hired on as this specific role if you wanted to move up. But I think by meeting people and networking and shooting good projects, you can sort of make that leap happen and sort of just trust the process. I work mainly on commercials in the lighting department, and I think in previous years this number would actually be a lot higher. Sort of the strike affected us a little bit in terms of union members trickling down into the commercial space, which I was totally okay with because it allowed me time to work on my own stuff. and, you know, work on my own projects.
Lighting changed because it's now the next day that I'm working on this video, but days spent working on this YouTube channel, TikTok videos, and social media in general is 151 days. I kind of expected this number to be the highest since I've been putting in a lot of time and effort into my social media and my YouTube page, but I think it's really important to establish a brand for yourself and get your name out there on social media. This has been really great for me because I've met some contacts and directors through social media, and those relationships are super valuable because those things could lead to paid jobs, which is obviously your goal as a freelancer. I also think having a social media page this day and age is almost essential for any business because how else are people going to find you? This 151 days includes anything from writing, scripting, editing these videos, working on TikToks, working on personal projects, or anything in between that. Most of these videos aren't directly paid either unless I'm doing a sponsored video or people are buying stuff through my affiliate links, but I think by having a social media presence, that will be such an asset for me in the future. I get to connect with people whom my work actually resonates with, and I think that's really the goal if you create anything. You obviously want people to see and connect with your work, which I think social media has been such a great asset for that. There's been so many amazing filmmakers that have popped off on the internet, and I don't think their work would have otherwise been seen if they didn't share their behind the scenes and their journey. Posting on social media is kind of like the new way to come up as a filmmaker. You know, you're creating an audience for yourself and people are going to want to see your work, and I think that's just so important to build for yourself these days. For example, the Amber project, I posted that on this channel and that hit 125,000 views, and if I were to just upload the video directly to Vimeo and didn't share any of the behind the scenes process, it just wouldn't get that many views. And I think by sharing my work and sharing my process with other people, that can hopefully lead to more connections and more revenue. Moving on to prep days and tech scouts. 12 days. These are days spent picking up equipment or returning equipment or prepping cameras at rental houses. If I did more shoots this year, I think this number would be a lot higher because I'm a huge advocate for pre-production and planning because they make your shoots go a lot smoother. Almost every shoot I did this year, I pushed for a scout because it just helps your day run more smoothly. You know where the sun is, you know what the location looks like, and you're just coming in with a game plan. Moving on to days spent networking and going for coffee. 13 days. I'm a little bit disappointed with this number because this number is completely within my control. I could be reaching out to more directors and producers and stuff like that, and these connections are just super valuable and is what actually is going to lead you to more jobs. This is such a relationship-based industry, and I think by knowing more people and building connections with people, that will hopefully in turn lead to more jobs. I think most jobs in this industry come from word of mouth, and this is really such an important aspect of things because it could just take meeting one producer or director and things could really change for you, and it's really just all about the network you have. The way I've been trying to reach out is through Instagram, and for example, I met Sebastian this year who directed the Amber project, and I just messaged him on Instagram, you know, complimenting his work and asking to go for a coffee. And it's pretty cool because we ended up doing multiple projects together. Going for coffee is sort of like a first date, you know, you want to see if you click and then from there you'll decide if you want to work together. That's really a goal of mine for next year, is to meet more directors and producers and just broaden my network a little bit more. And I'm not great at going to networking events and trying to meet people like that. I prefer a setting where it's just a one-on-one sort of thing. Unfortunately, even if you're introverted like me, you still have to network and meet people and do these sorts of things, so don't be afraid to try to get out there and, you know, meet people that are like-minded. Moving on to color grading. 4 days. Here I'm just overseeing the projects that I shot and make sure they're going in the right direction for color, but these days are kind of fun for me because I get to hang out at Red Lab and they're really just such a great team to work with, so shout out to them. This was a super fun exercise to do and I highly recommend doing it if you're any sort of freelancer. These numbers can really help guide you and you'll just learn a lot about your habits. If you like this video and want to see more videos like this, then subscribe to my channel and thank you for watching.